Well, we got our old Cop Cruiser and we got a newer Camaro. And when it comes to maintaining these vehicles, both of them are important. But you know, with the older car, it could probably get away with putting some 20W50 in it. Well, the Camaro, not so much. You got to have the right oil, and maintenance schedules are more important now more than ever. So today on Tech Garage, we're going to talk about sophisticated service. Well, the Camaro looks a lot better than that old beat-up cop car in the shop. Hey, welcome to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Brian, sophisticated service, it's all about the fluids and the technology on today's cars, man. That's important.
It really is. You know, some of the basic service remains the same as it's always been, but all season long we've been talking technology and sensors and engine management, inputs and outputs. And when you stop and think about the fluids and all the technology going on here behind the scenes, it's worthy of a conversation, because you got to get these vital fluids right. They so much of the time, they take mechanical action, turn it into hydraulic action, back to mechanical action. It matters more than ever, man.
Well, it does. Everybody knows how to do an oil change or maybe even a transmission fluid flush, but you know, this is important, getting that right fluid. Even more importantly, Brian, we'll go over all this, but you have to check it on a car, and there's proper techniques to do that as well.
Well, that's the great news. There's tools to even check for acidic content in various fluids. So I'm going to go check some antifreeze, oil, transmission fluid, you name it, even brake fluid. So I'm going to get to it.
Yeah, you know what? While he's doing that, check a look at this first graphic right here. This is actually our Camaro. Now, there's a lot of service going on in this graphic. Just take a look at the check marks. We don't need to go through all of them, but it is important, especially on today's cars. Now, why? Let's start right here with oil and work our way down. Well, you can see I got some 50 weight and some 0W20. Now, that's kind of weird, 0 weight oil. I know Brian and I, like the old school guys, hey, let's dump some thicker oil in there, it'll fix everything. No, not the case anymore, and I'll show you why. First of all, what's viscosity? Well, check this out. I got some 50 weight in this one, and I got the 0W20 over here. So when I drop these balls in the little beakers, we can watch it go down. You see the one there with the 0? It's actually flowing. It's nice and cold. Bam, it's going down. The 50 weight, well, it's taking a little while to get down there. That's the difference in the viscosity. Now, what does that matter? Well, check it out. Variable valve timing, man. It has to run all these little solenoids in here. It has to move this back and forth. If it's too thick, it's not going to do its job. Also, right here on the table, this is a solenoid that it has to pass through. You can see the little actual filter that it has to pass through. That starts getting clogged up, the technology's not going to work. Direct injection, the pressure of the actual fuel pump driving on this oil is breaking it down. I mean, the ball hasn't even made it yet. Big difference between the oils and the oil filter. Make sure you keep it clean. It's just a filter media in there. You have to go ahead and change that every time as well. Super important. Clean oil matters, and the right oil matters. Now let's talk a little bit about brake fluids. They've changed as well. You have .3, .4, and .5.1. They're all glycol based, so the higher the number kind of supersedes the other one. It's a higher boiling point. On the other hand, there's .5. Now that's an actual silicone base. They're not interchangeable. Why is that important? Well, look at our little cutaway here. All these seals inside of here are compatible to the fluid that you're using. So if these start to swell up or bleed by in the master cylinder, bam, it's going to bleed by every time. Once it does that, well, your brake's going to go to the floor. You're going to get brake fade. It's a problem. Use the right fluid. Well, we talk about this one all the time. This is coolants, man. I love my little collage of fluids here. We use this a lot because it's important. It really demonstrates the difference of the coolants. There's Asian coolants, import coolants, there's all kinds of extra life coolant and regular coolant. So you want to use the manufacturers. Why? Once again, I'm not just throwing this out there. I want you to look inside this hose right here. So if I pull this hose open, although it feels good and it looks good, inside, no, it's gone. It's all shot, it's rotted away. You're going to have a problem. You can't mix these. They turn into a gel. You ruin the coolant system. You start overheating your car. Catastrophic failure. Over here with power steering fluid, what's the big deal? Different makes, different models. You have little veins inside of here. They pop out. The clearances have gotten tighter through the years. Once those clearances get tighter, you need the right fluid. Fuel filters. Well, you see my fuel filter right here. If you have one, there's a clean one and a dirty one. We start restricting fuel flow. Maybe even on a new car, you start having the fuel filter built into the tank on the fuel assembly. You may not even have one, but if you have one, service it and keep it right. Transmission, on the other hand, here we go again. Man, Mercron, Dextron, 7, 6, 5, what? Use the manufacturer's service manual calls for. Service it, put a new filter in there while you're underneath the car. do it right. Getting over to the actual differential. Once again, if I have a differential in my car, do I have an open differential or do I have a limited slip? It makes a difference. Gear oil, or am I getting some kind of traction here? Traction control. For the clutch packs, I can wipe out a differential in a heartbeat. And it's also important to say, if you're dealing with the CVT transmission, a continuous variable transmission, well, you really have to use the right fluids. And getting over here, man, the car is 5 or 6 years old. Rock Auto carries AGM batteries. Start thinking about putting a battery in there. It's probably time, and it's time to put a battery in there, keep it cleaned and maintained. And something else a lot of people don't think about. We actually had a TPMS light on this car, and you know, it's getting to be 5, 6, 7 years old. The battery life's only good about 5 or 6 or 7 years old. So we just replaced them as a whole set. The tire pressure monitors, TPMS monitors in all the tires, sensing the tire pressure. That's important. We're actually gonna have to relearn it, use our ATEC tool to do that in segment 2 when we get past the commercial. But more importantly, this is awesome, but Brian's hard at work checking the fluids. Let's check in with him.
Guys, fluid technology is more complex and more important than ever. We're going to start here at the cooling system. We're going to look at oil, and we're going to ultimately look at brake fluid. We'll even talk training fluid. Now, first step is, with a cold engine, cold to the touch, you can go ahead and take a sample from your cooling system. You may have a reservoir that you can get into. I'm going to start with this because it's about 2 minutes on the test strip for this thing to mature and give us the read. What we're looking for is heavy metals in this system. You think about all the cooling passages within the engine, all the different metals, magnesium, aluminum, you name it, in there, water pump and bearings. When that stuff degrades over time, then you can get heavy metals introduced into the system. I'm going to set this here, and we're going to come back to it in just a moment, and we'll do a little comparison. While you're here, let me button this back up. While you're here, check your radiator hoses, upper and lower. You're just checking to make sure they're supple. There's no wrinkles. That coolant can flow when it gets hot and it expands. These actually look pretty good. It's a 5-year-old car. Let's move over here to the oil. Okay, so GM fans, Dexos, you've seen that before. We're not going to get too deep there, but you want to make sure you have the right type of oil and the right amount of oil. We talk about that all the time. How do you check that? Well, when you drain the oil, if you want to get a little crazy and put a magnet down there at the drain pan plug, you can look for fragmentation, any kind of signs that there's degradation and erosion in the oil pan. Or you can come up here and check the dipstick itself. Now, what are you looking for? You're looking to make sure that you can see through to that dipstick, that oil's golden brown enough, not solid black, that you can see it. Believe it or not, you want to smell it. And while it doesn't smell like the cookies in the kitchen, you can tell if it smells burnt. This is actually pretty good shape. I'm guessing toward the end of the life cycle. I'd check mileage here, but it's not burnt or spent. Let's go back in here and move back to the brake fluid. All right, when you think about what an ABS module does, the massive pressure it pumps for it to do its thing, you want this brake fluid doing everything it can to help you get stopped. Anytime you're opening up a master cylinder, I like to wipe it down first with a rag, get the dust, dirt, and contamination off there. That way none of that's going to make its way into the system. What we're going to check for here is the moisture content, the water content in the brake fluid. Brake fluid is hygroscopic, really fancy word with a lot of syllables to say it likes to draw in water. With this particular gauge, we put the probes down in and we check, and we're less than 1% water content in here. Certainly that is within spec. We don't need to change that. So those are some of the basics. Transmission fluid, also really important to check. You want to see if it smells burnt. If it's a dark burgundy or has a gel kind of configuration to it on the dipstick. On our Camaro, it's sealed. We would do that from underneath at the drain plug pan. All right, let's come back here and compare. Looking at the coolant, we're going to try to compare colors here and see where we are. Heavy metal content here is right around between 150 and 200 is a good guesstimate. That's within spec, but I'll tell you what, next big service stop, I think we should change this coolant. So that's a little bit about the vital fluids. They are critically important. You can do this in your driveway or in your garage. Stay with us on Tech Garage, presented by rockauto.com.
Tech Garage, presented by rockauto.com, is brought to you by Borla, the world's most winning exhaust. Custom Auto Sound, the originator of classic car OEM fit radio since 1977. And by rockauto.com, all the parts your car will ever need.
Well, welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Well, it's TPMS time, folks, and I'll tell you what, we brought out the big gun, the TPMS monitor tool by ATEC. Well, first of all, what is TPMS? Well, just what it says, Tire Pressure Monitor System. It looks at the tire pressure, and you can see right here I have a rim, and inside of your rim, there's your valve stem right there. So if I turn this around, you're going to have a sensor in there. Now, it could be an indirect or a direct system. This one's actually a direct reading. The sensor's located right there. It may be a banded sensor around the rim, but some way, shape, or form, you have a sensor inside of there under your tire that's actually reading tire pressure. Well, why do we want to do that? Well, when it's going low, actually turns on that little light on your dash. You can look at your dash and look at all your tires. You have to go out there and solve the problem. Now, on our car, or if you get tires rotated, every time you rotate a tire, that moves. Well, it has to know the position. So you're going to have to go through a learned procedure so it knows the position of where the tires are. Well, this car, you can't even rotate the tires because they're directional and they're different sizes. But we did replace them as a set. So we had to go ahead and ID them, and now we're going to go ahead and learn them. Really simple to do. Our TPMS tool, our ATEC tool here, it's right here on the screen. We're going to go into the service mode. I click OK. Once I do that, well, I can scan the actual VIN, which is cool. Bam, pop up the car automatically, or I'm just going to go ahead and do it manual to show you some of the options. There's the Chevrolet, Chrysler. I can scroll through to all the make and models, hit enter. Bammo. There's our Camaro, there's a Blazer, Corvette, all the different makes and models that Chevy offers. I would just go to it and pick it. I'm going to pick the Camaro, that's the one. Now it's asking me what kind of sensor it has, select it, and then I have a chance to go through the onboard diagnostic port. If I don't have a learned procedure, I can even do that. Well, this one I have a learned procedure, but I don't know what it is. So I can click it right here, and this is pretty cool because I can look and it'll tell you exactly what to do. It says to put it on, and I got Brian inside the car, so we're just going to follow the procedure. Hey, Brian, you give me a hand. This tool says exactly what to do to get it into that learn mode.
I'm all set, man.
All right, awesome. Well, obviously, we'll put the park and brake on to be safe.
Done.
Then you want to turn the ignition on. Don't start the car.
Done.
It says to go into the menu and push the vehicle select button in the menu.
Done.
All right, information in the DIC, which is the Driver Information Center. Use the arrow keys to get down to the tire pressure monitor system.
I'm there.
You're there? Awesome. Now it wants you to push the set and control button, hold it in, and then hopefully you'll get to a screen that says something about relearn.
Yep, I'm here.
All right, well, once you're there, now it wants you to go ahead and hold that button. Bingo.
Learn
now
mode.
that's that easy. I can just hit OK here. Well, the car just gave me an audible cue that it's time to go ahead and shoot them. And that's the beauty of this tool. I can do it in a matter of seconds. Check this out. I'm just going to go down here where the valve stem is, hit it. Once I hit it, I'm going to move to the next tire. And I'm going to go through all the tires now. I watched Brian one time run around the shop. He had these things done in about 30 seconds, man. This thing works great. Now what's going on here? Here's the valve stem. I'm actually shooting through the tire, up the valve stem right here, trying to hit that sensor in there. It's going to give me an audible cue. There it is. Go to the next wheel, come on to the back wheel. Same thing. Hit it again. Audible cue. And then I'm going to come around to the last wheel back here. And when I do that, hopefully it'll give me an audible cue that, hey, I'm good, I'm ready to go. There it is. And there's the double honk. That tells me that the system's complete and it's good. Now you can look back at the tool, which is really cool. It also ID'd all the sensors right there. It showed me the PSI in the tire and what frequency in hertz, and that the battery's okay or not okay. I'm hoping it's okay. We just replaced them all with some sensors from RockAuto.com. Everything's in good shape in this car. I'll tell you what, man, we're ready to take this one out, but stick around. We're going to talk about the actual LS build. We're going to wrap things up, man. We need to check that engine out. We'll be back with more Tech Garage presented by RockAuto.com. Well, welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Well, the LS lesson is complete, man, and we got the payoff today. You're going to enjoy this. Let me bring you up to speed to where we're at. We actually got the oil pan on. We got the pump all secured, the baffle in. We got the harmonic balancer on, the flywheel. We even went and put the starter on there. Brian's got the intake all torqued to specifications, but the key is we primed the oil system. We took a tank. We actually pressurized the oil system to make sure we're not going to crank this thing over without any oil pressure. We had great oil pressure. Sign number one, good.
Absolutely critical in this process. All the hard work you've done to this point, a lot of new parts from a camshaft to push rods to rocker arms. You want to protect all that and do a real first compression check the right way.
Well, I got the remote starter hooked up. What are you waiting for, man?
I hear you, boy. You're getting anxious. You just
I
want to
am.
drop this in some hot rod, don't you?
Absolutely. Now, you remember we had about, anywhere from 100 to 150. Totally normal. Wasn't in bad shape, but we found a lot of stuff we fixed up as we went through the season.
Quit talking.
This one, I want about, I'm not doing it then. All right, here we go. Ready?
Here we go.
3, 2, 1. Ah! 2, 3, 4. Whoa.
Well done. I like it. That's an upgrade right there.
That's a good sign. Now we'll go around, we'll take a compression reading on all of them just to make sure, and it doesn't hurt. We're spinning this engine over, we're building oil pressure with the oil pump, whatever we're gonna put it in, it's gonna be that much better.
Absolutely. And don't forget, guys, this was a driveway budget from the get-go. This wasn't a 5,000 horsepower build. We could have done that, but we wanted to show you all the maintenance, all the tips, everything we teach on Tech Garage. You saw it right where it comes to life, down inside the guts of an engine throughout this build. So we've done something, we're under $800 in replacement parts. We've got some time in it. We need to spend some more time on it. What's it typically take, 30, 40 hours to build an engine?
Yeah, it does, but I mean, to your point, yeah, we put a new timing chain, we put a new oil pump, we put a new camshaft. If that stuff's in good shape, you can just do a gasket, a re-ring. You can just do it without pistons. We could have put pistons. We could have put a crankshaft in it.
Sure.
Rock Auto offers all that for a total rebuild. But yeah, for your budget, that was absolutely perfect. I mean, that was awesome. Yeah, when you rebuild one of these, please keep in mind, guys, that this is a 30, 40-hour job, especially in a shop. We had, what, 7 minutes or 6 minutes for 13
per
weeks?
show.
I mean,
yeah.
So, we went through, we tweaked everything, we made sure everything was right. And, if you want to check us out on Facebook or social media, you can check it out at Chipola Tech Garage. We're going to start posting some more stuff so you guys can see what's on inside of there as we go along. Well, we're out of time for today. Our LS is good. We're going to wrap up this show with Garage Ed. There's plenty more. We'll be back with more Tech Garage, brought to you by rockauto.com.
Tech Garage, presented by rockauto.com, is brought to you by A-Tech, tire pressure monitoring system tools and solutions. Steel rubber products, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping. And by rockauto.com, all the parts your car will ever need.
Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by rockauto.com. Well, it's been an incredible Garage Ed segment throughout the season, and we're going to wrap it all up here. A lot's going on with this car, the computer system. We talked about the inputs. Now, the inputs were everything on this side of the board. We're talking about map, intake, MAF. We talked about a ton of them. Then we kind of move over to the center. Those guys were reporting to the computer, hey, what's going on? What are we sensing? And from the computer, bam, we had the outputs. We had things like the EGR, the injectors. We looked at things that it can physically move to change that fuel ratio, that magic number, that fuel ratio. So let's fire up our board for the final time. I'm going to fire this thing up, and I want you to look at that data because it's kind of mind-blowing. This is only one screen out of 6 of data. I just handpicked some stuff to put up there. You can see everything's talking, the computer's looking at it, and he's fixing the fuel trim. He's trying to keep it to that magic number. The key there is the top right-hand box, that 14.6. It should be 14.7, perfect fuel mixture, stoichiometric number. Now, what do we do to get that? Well, it's time to pull out the magic chart. It's all about the fuel trim. This is pretty cool because I told you at the beginning, we're trying to get that perfect number. Now the computer, he has a go rich command on this side. Now when he's going rich, command corrects condition. So if he's going rich, that means the car is actually lean. You want to look for a vacuum leak, clogged fuel filter, something that's giving you too much air and not enough fuel. Now on this side of the chart, it's a go lean command. So if that computer's going lean, he's not turning on the injectors very much. That's because there's a rich condition. Those oxygen sensors down there are sensing not much oxygen and a lot of fuel. So that could be a fuel pressure regulator, too much fuel, not enough air. That's how it all works. But these sensors also employ a couple other strategies, and I want to talk about it right now. They use 3 things: integrity, rationality, and obedience. Now, integrity, that's pretty simple. You got the computer right here. When you turn on your key, well, it sends a signal out, and if it sees a signal come back, that's a pass. Rationale, a little bit different. If I take this throttle and I go throttle wide open, well, that should be a massive amount of air going through, and the RPM should be up around the 4,000 or 5,000 range. If it's not, it doesn't pass the rationality test. Last is obedience. Well, what is that? Well, if we go ahead and ask the computer to open up the EGR valve down here, he should see a big hole in the intake manifold, and the map sensor should respond accordingly. Well, that wraps up Garage Ed. It's been a great season with Garage Ed. I sure hope it empowers you to get out and check out your car. Work on those sensors. Don't be intimidated by it. Let's check in with Brian. He's wrapping up this episode.
Sophisticated service done. Guys, I hope you got a sense of that today. A lot of the basic blocking and tackling of service is just like it was 30 years ago, John, but a lot of it matters even more.
Boy, Brian, it's great to see you working under the hood. I know the Camaro's in good shape. The fluids are in good shape.
Yeah, absolutely. We also had a blast today on the LS engine compression check. You know what that means. We're getting closer. I can't wait to hear that thing run.
Absolutely. You know, Garage Ed, we summed it all up. Brian, this was a great show, but you know, it's been even a better season. I just want to thank all the crew behind the cameras. You guys don't get to see them. I want to throw out a special shout out to the executive producer, Tom Gee, who's actually brought Tech Garage into your living room for the past 6 years. Chipola College's Tech Garage, thank you for the facilities, Rock Auto, and you, the viewers. We can't do this without you. Keep the social media coming, man. We love it. Brian, I think I got one right now. It says, hey, love the show. Put some powder on Brian's head. No, be
Well,
nice,
no.
but keep it coming.
I thought that said you loves the co-host. Thanks, guys. See you soon. Well done.
Production assistance for Tech Garage is provided by Chipola College, located in Marianna, Florida. Founded in 1947, Chipola was ranked recently as one of the top 3 community colleges in the United States.